Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today in this video I am going to discuss about tissue. So all the living organisms are made up of cell. Organisms may be unicellular. In this unicellular bacteria, amoeba, multicellular example will be plants, animals. These will come under multicellular organism. In unicellular, life processes activities like digestion, excretion, respiration. Life processes activities are carried within the cell. But in multicellular organism, many cells are present in. Because of the increase in the size of the organism, it is difficult for each cell to work efficiently to fulfill the requirement of the body. So each cell is differentiated into specific tissue, perform specific functions. So each tissue will perform functions. Most of the plants and animals poses tissue system. The human body, for example, epithelial tissue, outermost covering of an animal is made up of epithelial tissue. Muscle cells made up of muscle cells, by which helps in the contraction, brings about movement. Nerve cell carry messages and the blood cells flows transport oxygen, food, etc. and waste material. In plant, vascular tissue, this is a vascular tissue, conducts food, water and minerals from one part to another part of the plant. So these are the different tissues present in the human beings. So all these have different functions. Like epithelial, I told you that it is the outermost covering of the body. Like will be skin, muscle cells, which is by which contraction brings about movements. Nerve cell carry messages, blood flows, transport oxygen, nutrients, hormones, waste products, etc. In plants, vascular tissues conduct food, water and minerals from one part to another part of the plants. So we'll start. What is the definition of tissue? What is tissue? A tissue is a group of similar cells performing a specific function. Means what? It will be a group of cells which will perform similar cells performing a specific function. Importance of tissues. Tissues are an organizational level between organ and cell. A group of cell forms tissues, and tissue forms organs, and organs forms organ system, and this organ system will form organism. Second point, it decreases the workload of the cell. See, as all the tissues will have to perform different activities, so that relationship between tissue, organs, organ system and organism, several tissues together contributing to some specific functions inside the body. Multicellular organisms have higher survival due to the improved body organization and higher efficiency of functions. मल्टीसेलुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म में क्या होगी, उनकी जो सर्वाइवल जो रेट है इट विल बी हायर बिकॉज डिक्रीज द वर्कलोड ऑफ ईच सेल. दैट्स वाई द एफिशिएंसी ऑफ द ऑर्गेनिज्म it becomes the higher survival. We'll start with the plant tissue. Plant tissues are basically of two types. First one is meristematic tissue. Second one is permanent tissue. As we know that plants are stationary, so they require more of supportive tissue for obtaining structural strength. हमें पता है कि plants stationary है, they cannot move from one place to another, so it needs strength, most of the tissues are dead. In this plant cells, most of the tissues will be dead, and hence they provide more mechanical strength as they require less energy for their maintenance. The growth of plant is limited to certain regions. In the certain regions, growing tissues are present which can have the capacity to divide throughout the life, and these tissues are the meristematic tissues. These cells can multiply to produce new cells, and these permanent tissues are non-dividing tissues. See, plant tissues, further this meristematic tissue is divided into three different types, that is apical meristem, intercalary meristem, lateral meristem. And this permanent tissue is divided into two different types of tissues, that is simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Further, this simple permanent tissue is divided into parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma, and this complex tissue is divided into xylem and phloem. This parenchyma is further divided into erenchyma, collenchyma, and the sclerenchyma is divided into sclerenchyma fibers and sclerites, and further this xylem and phloem is also divided. The xylem is divided into tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, xylem fibers. This phloem is also divided into four parts, that is sieve tube, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, phloem fibers. So next is I'll start with the meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissues, they are found at the growing point of a plant. These are living tissues like the tip of the root, stem and branches. Means what? It is present in the tip of the growing plant. It will be present in the tip of the roots, stems and branches. Roots के apex में present होंगे at the tip of the root and in the branches. Also present between the bark of the wood of the trees, where it leads to growth in the diameter of the stem. See, the diameter of the stem, it will be present between the bark of the, so that it increases the girth of the stem. Stem की चौड़ाई बढ़ाने में help करता है. Now the characteristics of meristematic tissues. So what are the characteristics? क्या क्या प्रेजेंट होगा मेरिस्टेमेटिक टिश्यू में, सो दैट तो हम ये समझेंगे कि ये मेरिस्टेमेटिक टिश्यू है. द सेल्स आर स्मॉल, जो सेल की साइज़ होगी मेरिस्टेमेटिक टिश्यू की वो छोटी होगी. द सेल्स हैव थिन सेल वॉल एंड आर कॉम्पैक्टली पैक्ड विथ नो इंटरसेलुलर स्पेसेस. जो सेल्स होंगी उनकी जो सेल वॉल होगी, देयर विल बी अ थिन सेल वॉल ऑफ प्लांट. When cells are arranged like this, there will be very less intercellular. The spaces between the cells will be very little. That's why it is called, it is compactly packed. Cells के बीच में intercellular means what? The spaces between the cells. So there will be no intercellular spaces between the cells. Third point is cells are usually cuboidal. So nuclei are large. So this nucleus will be large. Vacuoles almost absent. See, vacuoles, why it is absent in this? What is the purpose of vacuoles? Is to store food and waste product. But the meristematic tissues or cells are young and actively dividing. They do not participate actively in food preparation and they do not produce a large amount of waste. That's why the vacuoles are almost absent. Next point is the cells actively divide, adding new cells to the plants. प्लांट्स में हमेशा एक्टिव डिवीजन होता रहेगा सेल्स का. New cells thus produced and transformed into matured permanent tissues. So new cell, after the formation of new cells, and the old cells will transformed into mature permanent tissue. And this classification of meristematic tissue. So the meristematic tissues are classified on the basis of their location. They are of three types. So what are they? They are the apical meristem. This is apical meristem. This is intercalary meristem, and this is lateral meristem. So apical meristem is present at the growing tip of the shoot and root. This is a tip. This part is tip, where this apical meristematic tissue will be present, and it will be present in the roots also, at the tip of the roots. They are responsible for increase in the length of shoot and root. Next is intercalary meristem. This is intercalary meristem. They are present at the base of leaf or internode. This is internode, where it is present, responsible for the growth in length of the plant organs. Next is lateral meristem. This is situated below the bark and is responsible for increase in the girth, diameter of the stem. So it is present here. Lateral meristem. What does it do? It increases the diameter. प्लांट की चौड़ाई को बढ़ाता है, और ये it is present below the bark and helps. This lateral meristem helps in the secondary growth. So in this lateral meristem is of two types, vascular cambium and cork cambium. Vascular cambium produces secondary phloem and secondary xylem. Cork cambium produces protective cork on the outside. So that's all. This is the meristematic tissue. In the next video, I am going to explain about permanent tissue.